Hi guys, this is a pattern drafting tutorial. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys on how to draft and cut a pencil trouser with perfect crouch. If this sounds like something you're interested to learn, keep on watching and let's get started. Welcome back guys. So I've gone ahead to spread my pattern paper. It's not on a fold. So I removed 1.5 inch for my waistband. I came down by 8 inch for my hip line. After marking your hip line, also come down by your crotch line. To get your crotch line, you're going to divide your hip circumference by 4. Okay, add 1 inch for allowance. Come down by your knee length and also mark the full trouser length and 1 inch for allowance. So I'll just extend the line like so. I'll connect those points in a straight line. After that, I'll go ahead and label. Okay, so I have my waistline here, I have my hip line, I have my crouch, and I have my knee length, I have my trouser length, and I have my AL. AL means the allowance. So once I'm through with all this, next thing I want to do is to place my tape at the hip line. I'm going to take my hip circumference divided by 4 plus 1 inch for allowance. I'll mark, then I will connect this point like so. You extend to the waistline. So after I was done with that, on that waistline, I'm going to divide my nipple to nipple by 2. Mine is 3.5. Okay, and I subtracted 1.5 inch for the waistband. I came down by 5 inch. I took out half inch on both sides, then I connected like so. This is for the dart intake. So the next thing you want to do now is to mark quarter of your waist circumference. Replace the 1 inch for that intake and also add 1 inch for your allowance. I marked. After marking, I will connect from that point to my hip line just like this. Okay, so the first measurement you need to take is your hip. Okay, your hip should be your first measurement, okay, before any other thing. So I went ahead to extend from the hip line to the crouch line. Next thing I want to do now is to get my crouch curve. Okay, so to do that, my hip circumference divided by 4 is 9 inch. So I also divide the 9 inch by 3 and I have 3 inch. Okay, divide your hip circumference by 4, whatever you get, divide it by 3 inch, then whatever it gives you, go ahead and mark it at that point. Mine was 3 inch. I went ahead to mark. So after marking, I'm going to connect from there to the hip line. So I'll use my curve rule to connect like so. Can you see what I did here? You connect like so. Okay, once you're through with that, next thing you want to do now is to get your tie line. Okay, your tie or lap line. Okay, so from the crouch line, come down by 3 inch. Go ahead and mark, then extend like so. Connect with your ruler in a straight line. Okay, so after connecting, next you want to do again is to label. I will label as my tie. You can also call it your laps. All right, so from that crash line, I will measure what I have there in total and I'll divide by 2. I'll mark the midpoint. Now after marking this midpoint, I'm going to use my ruler to connect like so. I will continue like so to have the center of this pattern. You get? So I've gone ahead to divide this pattern by 2, as you can see. So the next thing I want to do now is to divide my round tie. I'll divide my round tie by 2. Whatever it gave me 12 inch. It was 24 divided by 2 was 12 inch. So I placed the 6 inch at that point and I went ahead to mark. So at the knee length, you're going to divide your knee circumference by 2. Whatever I gave you, go ahead and mark. Okay, just place half of it at that point, then go ahead and mark. I will connect from the thigh to my knee and I'll use my curve rule to connect from the hip line to that point. Okay, so this will give you your hip curve or your hip shape. Okay, so I will do the same thing on this other side. Okay, you connect like so. Do you get? So after I was done with this, next thing I want to do is to take the round circumference of this other side. So the hem circumference was 12 inch divided by 2 was 6. I marked 3 inch on both sides. that is 6 inch. I went ahead to connect like so. So I'm going to repeat the same thing on this other side. Okay, this is very simple. With this method, you're not going to have any issue in drafting your pattern for trouser or cutting your trouser. Okay, so after I was done with all of this, I went ahead to cut it out. Okay, after cutting, I'm going to place another paper to cut the back pattern. After cutting the front pattern, guys, you can see what I have here. So let's go into the cutting of the back pattern. So I've already placed my front pattern. I hold with my pins, as you can see. So from this side, I'm going to come in by 2 inch. Okay, from the back pattern, come in by 2 inch, then replace the 2 inch on this side. Okay, so after I was done with that, I came up again by 2 inch. So once I'm through with that, I will go ahead and connect like so. Then also extend this part as well. So after that, next thing I want to do now is to make a slant curve like so. I'm going to connect from there to that point. Okay, so I'll label here as hip, crouch and thigh with my knee length. So from the side, I'm going to mark 2 inch. I will stop this 2 inch at the thigh line. So I'm going to connect from there to my thigh line. So once I'm done, I'm going to come down here at the, I will come down here at the knee line. Then I'll mark 1.5 inch. Okay, on your knee line and the hem line, mark 1.5 inch, and from your waist to your hip and thigh line, you mark 2 inch. Okay, so after I was done with this, guys, this was what I had. Next thing I want to do now is to extend the crouch line by 2 inch. Okay, if you're a plus size, you can mark 3 inch. Like if you're very big, you can mark 3 inch. Okay, so at that hip line, I went ahead to make a dot. All right, so I'm going to remove the front pattern. Then I'm going to extend from that point to where I marked a dot. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is to make a curve from the crotch line to that point. Okay, just like this. So you can see the crouch back is very deep and is long. This is because it's back pattern. We all know that the back of a trouser is bigger than the front. Okay, so from this other side, I went ahead to connect from the crouch line to the knee length. All right, so this is how you go about drafting of a pencil pint for female. Okay, so I want to add zip allowance. So I want to add this zip at the back. Okay, if you want it at the front, you can add your zip allowance to your front. Okay, so I marked 1.5 inch. You can see I stopped the 1.5 inch on the hip line. Okay, so I went ahead to connect like so. This was what I had after I was done. Okay, so you can see where I stopped the 1.5 inch. I stopped this at the hip line. That is where I stopped. Can you see? So if you want to cut it out, you're going to cut it out like this. You get? So the next thing I want to do is to come down by 1 inch on the front pattern. I came down by 1 inch. This is to avoid any form of caping at the front crouch. Okay, so I went ahead to connect like so. So what I'm going to do now is to cut it out. So this is the best way of cutting a female pencil pint. Okay, instead of you adding those allowances at this side of the crouch, you add it at the other side. Okay, and this method works for only the pencil pint. If you're cutting like palazzo, you cut it in a normal way. Okay, this is just for the pencil pint. The other way we cut our back pattern is basically for men. Okay, for female, this is the best pattern to use. Like this is how you cut your back pattern for female. Okay, If you have any question, kindly ask in the comment section. I'll be there to reply you. Okay. So in my next tutorial, I'm going to be sharing with you guys on how to join all these pieces together. So this was the outcome after I was done sewing. I'm going to drop a tutorial on how I made the pint. Okay, using this pattern we cut out. You get. So guys, we have come to the end of today's tutorial. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in my next one.